The number of the counting shall be a 3. Not 1, not 2, nor 4 or 5, but 3.
Well, it's Monday.
Yes, it is.
I was just telling Aaron before we were getting started, we had this insane thunderstorm come out of nowhere here, like reminiscent of like hurricane type thunderstorms. And
Really?
unfortunately, I think it's passing for the most part, but I was really worried it was going to take my power out.
Well, that's funny because I'm watching the band that hit you came straight down and is like cutting across peninsular Florida. And this is what Anna Maria just sent me this video of her front yard. I'm looking at it in my backyard, and this is just wild.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
It just keeps on going.
God's having a rave.
Oh, yeah. Dude, God is listening to straight up Tiesto mixed with the Prodigy, and life is good. Armin van Buuren is there just bobbing his head with, Michael at the gates.
This is episode 241 of Snakes and Stogies, brought to you by FullViceApparel.com. Changed it up on you this time there, Phil.
You did. You got me. I was gonna be
he was going for it. Hats, shirts, mugs, hoodies. It's not hoodie weather yet, but it will be here. Grab them all. FullViceApparel.com. Use the code THN at checkout. Get 15% off your order. That is the exclusive promo code for THN listeners and viewers like you. And if you're going to Daytona and you want to place an order, the pickup option is now available for Daytona for me to bring it down, save on shipping if you want, and just meet up with me once we get down to the great beach, the great white beach, and get your shirts and stuff. If you have any questions, hit me up. But then if you need a rack or you need a cage, blackboxcages.com has got them all. Just about anything to fit whatever you might need, barring like velociraptors and stuff.
Have we any announcement on any of the new secret squirrel stuff?
Yet. I need to ask Jen what
it's coming
when we can start discussing these things.
Just so people know, I don't even know what it is. That's how covert it is.
Ooh. Stay in the loop. Give them a follow on Facebook and Instagram. Shop around. blackboxcages.com. Tons of options as far as racks and cages. Even within the racks, you've got a lot of options. There's sort of the modularity of like the VX16s, where you can do 4 of the tiny tubs, or 3 of the smaller tubs, or 2 of the medium tubs. It's nice because you can have one rack, but only have to change out tub sizes as animals grow instead of having to buy an entirely new rack. And they use Vision tubs, which are really nice and really, really sturdy. It's a very serious tub, especially if you get them in a stack. Boy, those things are hefty.
Oh, yeah.
But
strong like bull.
Yeah. So use the code THN25 at checkout there. Get a little discount, and then you can double down on savings and choose the pickup option at checkout as well and save on shipping. If you're within a reasonable driving distance of North Georgia, that's what we typically recommend, because you go check out the operation, meet the gang, see how the sausage is made. And then on your way to Black Box to pick up your order, you order some cold-blooded caffeine in the Snakes and Stogies blend. Use that code SMOKE. Get you 10% off your order. We're partial because that Snakes and Stogies blend is where it's at.
Mighty fine.
Right here. Mexico and Rwanda together in a bag. The last place you would expect it. Trey made it happen. Good. It is very good.
Does it taste like snakes? I'm just being
maybe,
funny. I'm sorry.
Maybe. I don't think I've ever tasted snake, so I honestly couldn't say, but
I've tasted snake. I don't like it. Not for me. Not for me.
I've heard it's
Yeah, a little chewy too.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like chicken, but a little bit more gummy?
It's like bad gator.
Oh man.
Yeah, like just like rubbery with fish bones.
I equated gator as the texture of steak, but it tastes more like fish or chicken kind of.
But see, I feel like gator is so hit or miss. Like you can have fantastic gator, and then you can have some frozen crap. So really depends on where you go.
Yeah. What are you smoking this evening?
This evening, I pulled out I guess it's a Corona size, but Cohiba Habana.
Oh, what a hipster.
Oh, yeah. This is by far the stalest, driest Cohiba that I have.
Delicious.
It's time to go. So when I cut it, it cut flawless, perfect, legitimate perfection. Let's just hope it smokes.
Look at that. Boy, that's so clean.
Crisp.
Speaking of clean cuts,
what do you got?
I got a $400 Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust cutter.
Holy shnikes.
It's not, so I didn't actually pay $400. I paid $30 because Raj got a handful in, didn't realize how much they were supposed to be sold for. So I grabbed one. It was like $25 with my discount.
Nice.
I think, like, legitimately, these are online for $400.
Is that because wait, that's market value, but they're really supposed to be like $50?
No, I mean they're listed online for $400.
Like from retailers?
Legitimately from retailers.
So that's
and
like
it's
4,000% markup.
It's legitimately Steve Saka trolling his own fan base because he knows there's a lot of cigar nerds out there that'll see his logo on it and go spend any amount of money on it. But okay, so hear me out. Okay. This is probably one of the best cutters I've ever used. What's awesome, and I'm not trying to sell it. I'm just
saying.
Tell
me you can take it apart and sharpen it.
You can take it apart, and the blades are replaceable.
Oh, my Lanta.
And so one side is larger on the ring gauge.
Yep.
One side is smaller.
Oh,
on
that's
the ring
awesome.
Gauge. It's super easy to take apart. I don't remember how to do it at this moment. It's made by Cigar Medic, so it's nice.
The markup is insane.
It is. It's like I said, I don't think Saka actually expects people to be like, oh my god, a $400 cutter, but there's going to be nerds out there that are like, oh yeah, because I didn't see anything about these. Like Raj just had them out on the shelf, and I was like, oh, that's cool. It's a nice cutter. I don't need another one. And then I saw Half Wheel put a review up on them. And they were like, yeah, these are $400. I was like, oh, they're $30 at my shop. Let me go grab one.
Well,
and it is by far the smoothest cutter I've ever had.
If
like,
there's still 30,
butter.
Grab me one.
Okay. I don't know. I told him after I bought one. So
yeah, but that's crazy, man.
It is.
That's insane.
Like I said,
so like, okay, I can understand where if you had a $30 cutter and they're going for $100 on eBay right now because you can't get them.
I almost bought all of them just to flip them on eBay for $200.
And then like they're discontinued, and 4 or 5 years later, now they're collectible, and now they're $400. Okay, cool, I get it. Yeah, that's a pretty damn good cut. That doesn't get any better than that.
If it goes a step further, it retains.
What?
I don't know what kind of voodoo they use to do that.
It's got to be some kind of like electrostatic material or something.
It is a phenomenal cutter. And it comes with an extra blade, which is nice.
How much are the blades?
A 5-pack pack of replacement blades is $75.
That's not bad.
Considering that a single blade is supposed to last damn near forever.
Right. That's not bad.
Why not?
Yeah.
I really think someone should invent a cigar cutter that uses box cutter blades.
I thought they had that.
I don't think so. I've never seen one.
I thought they had that.
But if you think about it, it's a terrible business model because you have a one-time customer that's literally going to buy that and then never buy another cutter again because they just go buy a 500 pack of blades for $20.
Yeah, but I feel like that's something that
look back.
That's something that you would give away for free on the internet to 3D printers, you know?
Yeah.
You know, just like spread the wealth.
Yeah. I'd do it.
Yeah. I'd still own the Saka.
You guys know me.
I'd still own the fucking Saka.
So I usually tell people, I've said it before, it's been a while, so we'll dive back into this real quick. When it comes to your cutters and lighters, do not spend a bunch of money on super expensive, super high-end cutters and lighters unless you're prepared to lose them. Because what's bound to happen, especially with lighters, cutters not so much because I'm pretty good about keeping I have a V cutter in my car, I have a V cutter in here somewhere, I lost it, and then I have this. This stays in my cigar case at this point, and I don't take it out. So stick with the cheaper ones. You're bound to lose it. It's bound to disappear, walk off. Someone grabs it. You're at Daytona. Someone sees it sitting on the counter. They walk off with your lighter, whatever. It happens. It happens regularly. So a good cutter is nice, but honestly, I wouldn't spend more than $30 or $50. Like those Calibri V cutters are great. That's a fantastic. They've got a warranty on them, which is nice. Like I said, I own like 2 of those. And it's nice even just to have them around when they're not like my main cutter. So lighters especially though, honestly, I've found that the $10 lighters, little triple 3-burner lighters that are, $10 or $12 at your cigar shop are going to be
$6.99.
Are going to be better and last longer than any of the expensive. Like I've got the Calibri lighter before that was also like $40, $50, might have even been more than that. After a while, it just didn't last. Like it's been collecting dust on like in my right next to my front door on the little ledge thing for years, and it just doesn't.
Yup.
Or you go to Fulvius and you get you a Zippo.
Now here's the thing: your Fulvius Zippos, do they have the torch insert?
No, you have to buy that separate.
Okay, that was what I was gonna say. So if you do buy a Fulvius one, you gotta get the torch insert.
But you can get on Amazon. Walmart even carries them now. Walmart, for whatever reason, carries like a single, but it also comes with the original insert that comes with the Zippo. So I'm like, why am I buying that when I'm getting rid of it? Like, and then I don't know. My Ace Hardware also carries the inserts, the Zippo brand ones.
Well, that's cool.
Which I've also found of the inserts, the Zippo brand inserts are the ones like spend the extra couple bucks and get the Zippo one. They are very good inserts.
And for those
they work really well.
For those who are not familiar with butane powered stuff, don't buy generic white gas or butane gas from the dollar store. Get actual name brand butane fluid, whether it be Zippo or Prestige or whatever. And that one can that's probably 16 ounces is going to last you 2-3 years, if that. So definitely spend the extra $1 and get that. But not to take away from Smitty's beautiful Fulvius Superior lighters, but like this is a jet line. This is generic gas station torch. It's a 3 torch. I paid $6.99, and it just runs and runs.
Yeah, and like I said, I've used a lot of lighters in my day.
What was that fluid?
It's fast fill.
Oh, fast fill. Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. The cheap lighters honestly seem to hold up and take the most abuse the best. So if you want to be bougie and you want to drop money on a nice lighter, like by all means, go for it. To me, knowing myself and knowing a lot of people that came in the shop bought even a cheap lighter and then came back 2 days later and said, "Oh, I lost it," or someone dropped it and it broke. I need another one. It's like,
or I dropped it and it broke.
That's why we tell people when they would come in and be like, "I want a really nice lighter." I'm like, I mean,
and look, if you've got a smoking room, if you've got a man study or a man cave, or even just the garage where you and the boys hang out, and you want to get like a big heavy desk lighter, like an old school table lighter, go for it, rock and roll. But something that you're going to throw in your pocket and bring to the coffee shop or bring to your buddy's poolside deck when you're eating burgers, this works great.
I have become like the Zippo. This is in my pocket every day. I go between that one and it's
got the bird eater on the back.
It's got a Regalis on the back.
Oh, nice.
I go between that and then my Fulvia Vuitton.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's got a Regalis on it.
Oh, sweet. Very sweet.
I need to get another insert just to carry, so I can I want to almost like how dudes have like watch boxes with all the different watches.
Oh yeah.
Open it up and have just Zippos.
I'm in. Change
I
it
got
like your
my
watch
original
for the day.
Snakes and Stogies one right here too.
Nice. I still got the Snakes and Stogies one, man. I don't use it because I don't want to damage it.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Dude, mine's
There it
this
is.
one spent a lot of time in my pocket.
That's it. That's it. And by the way, first impression, first draws on the crusty Cohiba. We always talk about how Cubans cigars are 1000% A or F, hit or miss. You can have a whole box, and half are great and half are shite. This one feels like shit and looks like shit. It smells great. It tastes great. It draws flawless. It burns flawless. I'm never surprised. How do I phrase it? I'm always surprised because I don't let myself assume. Does that make
Crusty
sense?
Cohiba
Crusty
is
Cohiba.
the Kiba for you
Mhm.
and me.
Look at that. Look.
Nice.
Perfect mundo.
Well, I am smoking the new My Father Blue.
Ooh.
I had about 4 of these over the weekend. They are good.
That's semi-box press?
Yeah,
I
kind of like
it.
the Judge and some other
Yes.
lines. I tried this is the Toro. I tried the 60. 60's good. Toro's better.
Okay.
I haven't tried the Robusto yet. I'm anxious to try that one. And I wish they might have it in a Corona. If they did, I'd grab that in a heartbeat because this blend is really interesting. It's got some Corojo and some Criollo in it, and it's a Habano wrapper. But there was something about the blend. I'll have to look it up. I won't do it right now because we're going to get into the bulk of the episode. But My Father Blue, if you see it on the shelves, try it. It's very good.
It's a great band.
You can't miss it.
Great
dude,
band.
My Father's bands are always always on point, dude. So it's a very good smoke. Very different, very unique, kind of reminiscent of the Blackbird Unkind, that purple banded one that I always talk about in terms of like just something different. Like the blend is just unique and actually
a real blend.
Noticeably novel.
Yeah.
When I first couple puffs when I smoked it over the weekend, I was like, oh my God, this is actually like probably one of the best releases My Father's had in a while. So
good stuff.
Very highly recommend.
Good stuff. So you want to get into our guest and our event for this week, tonight and this week?
It's that time again.
It is that time again. A whole year's passed. Crazy. But we are joined yet again, our good friend Aaron with PA Woods and Forests, as well as Woods and Forests Media. I'm going to butcher that every time I say it. Sorry. What's going on, Aaron? It's Frog Week.
It's Frog Week. Can you believe that it's been a whole year?
A whole year. It's
every
wild,
time I feel like there's about 50,000 frogs in the ditch behind my house. So when we get rain like we just had and they're all screaming, I'm just like, it's the call of Aaron. I can feel it.
It is time.
I can hear him and I can feel him.
It is time.
Yeah, we have probably one of the craziest projects that we've ever worked on, and I'm super excited to have my name attached to it. It's unbelievable what was able to be accomplished. We have a lot of different stuff. Maybe I could even get the driver's seat for some of this to share with you, but
of course,
we did an iNaturalist project. I'm looking down the barrel here at the observations.
Would you mind giving some of the listeners a rundown of what PA Woods and Forests is and just give them an idea of where you guys come from and kind of the mission statement?
Yeah, so Phil hit the nail on the head. PA Woods and Forests is the nonprofit that I have founded, and I'm also still the active president. And we focus on the conservation of native plants and animals, primarily amphibians and also pollinator insects. I primarily focus on frogs and toads, but that's initially what we do between habitat creation, conservation, presentations. There's so many different things that we're doing now. We're actually doing like legit research and also citizen science work. But you also introduced me with Woods and Forests Media, and that's not an accident or you didn't butcher anything. We had to separate the nonprofit from a media brand because our treasurer did not want to potentially have to do taxes if the channel or our Instagram would get monetized. So I took those and the nonprofit got the Facebook. So it's almost like a weird divorce where you're friends if you follow me, because we had to split it off. I had to come up with a new name, and they do two different things. So with Woods and Forests Media, I do serve the nonprofit, but I have the freedom to go and make videos for whoever or do whatever. But I also have my own projects that I focus on. So we have a lot of different shows, and I'm sure we're going to talk about a couple of them. Anywhere from a hiking show to a podcast to two different shows about enclosures and the animals that have been rescued, or like one that's actually a legit pet tank. And of course, the joint collaboration between the nonprofit and the media brand for 7 years now, it is Frog Week. And it started out with me wanting to make a difference with the frogs and toads in my own backyard. I had an amazing example, Ace, who has her story covered throughout the internet and also in magazines and newspapers. But she was a very impactful American toad, and she kind of gave me the inspiration and the passion to want to do something for the wild frogs and toads. And it was because of the story about her and what all that entailed that I got into wanting to make a difference. And then it just kind of took off. It was almost like every year you go up a new level, you're introduced to something new. You're introduced to like a new idea or a new gadget or something, like a new concept. And it went from somebody just kind of like getting their toes wet in the water, so to speak, just trying to figure out what I could do, how I could get involved, to now being a full-fledged conservation project where we had our first ever kickoff at a local library. And like, even though that might sound kind of like small, or that might sound like kind of like whatever, if you think about it, in my hometown, like our governor visited this library. Like, it's happening. It's a really, like, you wouldn't think about that because a lot of people think libraries are dying and stuff. But ironically, no, this library is very alive and active. It gets funding from the government. Like, it's a big time thing. So that was really cool that they wanted to have a Frog Week kickoff. And like, we've spread out 4 different counties in Pennsylvania. The nonprofit itself focuses on 7. And there's a lot of different numbers that I have of over 150 miles that we travel. All the different animals that we've road rescued this year is well over 200. Somewhere around 7 habitats that we are in the works of creating. We have an acoustic monitoring project that Josh's Frogs helped to sponsor. And we also have Critter Talks that I got a different grant for, bringing tadpoles from drying puddles, carnivorous plants that are captive bred, and also millipedes that are captive bred, and allowing children to raise those in their classroom to give us the opportunity to help the wild frog and toad populations that breed in vernal pools.
That is really cool.
Take them back to the wild. Yeah.
Idea.
You know what's even crazier? This is like the cherry on top, because I don't want to like ramble and go on a rant here. The last thing, I'll turn it over to you guys. But after I did the Critter Talks, I went to all these schools, right, and all these kids from kindergarten up to college. The teachers were so invested that when they have no lesson plan, or whenever I'm going to come back, or whenever they just feel like it, they are going to share a couple of the playlists on Woods and Forests Media as curriculum for the schools. So now everybody's going to have a chance to know Frog Week. Everybody's going to have a chance to watch these enclosures. And so it's really neat that just going out and putting yourself out there and being willing to keep going and evolving with the project itself. It really does show, a testament to all the hard work and the discipline it takes to make something like this happen. So I just wanted to share that with you because it's a big deal, and the news coverage has been phenomenal. And you guys were actually mentioned, literally like your podcast, in a newspaper article that was on the headline of a county. So you guys were one of the events that was mentioned. So yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah, you guys.
Do you have that? I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you gotta take some shots of that and forward that over. That's awesome.
Yeah, I will. It's also online too.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it literally says like your podcast. So I thought that was pretty awesome.
That's wild, man. That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, it's a testament to sticking to it, man. And like, I think a big problem a lot of people have currently, like whether they're starting something like a nonprofit like you, or even podcasts or YouTube channels or anything like that, is if they don't see the results immediately, they throw in the towel too soon. Because I know, like with the magazine that we were doing, with this, anything Fulvius, like you have to go into it knowing it's gonna take time to really for the snowball effect to really work its magic. But it's like, man, once it does, and if you're doing the right stuff and you're, you go into it with the mindset of, if I'm doing good things, stuff will happen. And I think I wholeheartedly believe that, and I think that's if people are trying to do something similar to what you're doing, not necessarily the same thing, but like they want to start something, be it a business, be it a podcast, whatever, like it's just a matter of like understanding that the beginning is going to be slow growing. It's going to take some time to really build up some momentum. But once you get that momentum, man, it carries and it goes a long way.
Oh yeah.
Got to stick with it. You got to
Absolutely.
ignore the numbers for a long time and just hope that it's getting to the right people,
Yeah, for sure.
I've had a lot of people who have been like big names, and they said, "Oh, your content is so interesting, but yet nobody's ever heard of you, or like you have a small following." It's like, you're right, so make a difference, right? No, I'm just kidding, but no, seriously though, like there's so much that has taken place over the course of this year. I don't even know.
This is the second year that we've done this, right?
I think it's the third, guys.
Is it the third?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty
It
sure
is
it's the
the
third.
third.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I three-peated here with you guys.
Nice.
And I'm super excited about that, by the way, guys. Like, this has been such a huge opportunity for everybody involved to be on your podcast and to bring this spotlight to native frogs and toads. You guys could be talking to anybody pretty much. You guys have that network, and just the fact that you choose to bring me on, the three-peat that we just were joking about, but it really does mean a lot. I look forward to keeping up with you guys. I know I make it like 1 or 2 times on your podcast a year, and I hope to continue, but like we do keep it somewhat in contact over the course of the year too with like updates. But no, I really do appreciate you guys genuinely. And like, this has been such a great opportunity to be here. So I just want you guys to know like how much I appreciate you guys being willing to do this, because you could do whatever you want with your podcast. And I'm just so thankful to have this opportunity here tonight.
Well, thank you, man. We love having you on, and you fighting the good fight and saving all those salamanders on the road, man. It's just crazy to me. Like, I just, like, when I think about you, I think about like you in the rain, like stopping traffic to let a marble cross the road. Like, that's just the coolest thing, man.
I'll give you some crazy stories from the field. So we'll keep it on a salamander for a second. This hasn't made it in the project. So we'll talk about, I'm kicking around an idea after this. But anyway, I was out, and there's a hot spot where spotted salamanders cross the road every year. I know they're going to be there. So I went down and like clockwork was moving them across the road. And there was a whole bunch of them at one time that were crossing. And I didn't realize that there were cars coming, but I got out and I just went for it. I just got all of them in my arm and was carrying them across. So traffic stopped on both sides of the road. And I'm like, in all black. I got a like little vest on. I got a headlight. I got camo boots. People probably think I'm going to rob somewhere. And they all stopped their cars, and I was able to like move those salamanders. It was just like a surreal moment. It's like, what is going on right now? What just took place? But
that's incredible.
Yeah. And I think we saved about like over 20 spotted salamanders this year. I don't know why it didn't make it in for the project, ironically, but that doesn't mean that people won't see it. I've been kicking around the idea after Frog Week because, guys, I have like 4 terabytes worth of data. So there are a lot of things that didn't make the cut that were taking place, that were happening. And I kind of want to hear what some of the media and you guys, I would consider like the media, but I want to hear what a lot of different voices have to say if I were to have like extra content. Not that it needs to be covered by everybody, just that it comes out and you have a chance to see maybe like an extended edition of like stuff that happened that I didn't fully cover or that I didn't even show. Because I think that I was kind of preparing for that, to be honest with you, instead of like wasting 4 terabytes. Like, how do we use this for whatever we want? So B-roll, but also like, I got a lot for extra content for you guys. If that's something that is interesting to the public, I would be more than happy to drop it. So
Yeah, man. Were you gonna say, Smitty?
Is that stuff that you could use throughout the year, like between frog weeks?
Yep. Yeah.
You got to do it, man.
Yeah, I mean,
I could drop one in
Yeah.
the middle of the winter whenever everybody is watching the snowfall, or you're watching like the ice just come over the ponds. Like, you just go inside, snuggle up, and think about what happened last summer, last spring with the frogs, and again, a spotted salamander road rescue. Let me give you a couple unique things that I did this year that you guys really might dive into.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So there's a lot we could go into with this, but I first want to start with like some of the more unique gadgets that people won't see until the last episode. I don't exactly know why it didn't work out that way, but you'll see it's kind of like the springboard for next year. But I got trail cams, and I really wanted to film the backyard toads. And I also got a Sony cam that I could take underwater, and then I could like film the eggs or the tadpoles or the toads in Amplexus. So like the last episode shows all of it. So I probably have about 2 hours and about 4,000 clips of American toads at the house, just on that project itself. And there's a good bit of underwater footage that I got, but I'm just super excited because I think that's going to help to impact the project in a significant way. Now that I could take you underwater and you can see that experience, like literally, like, what is it? The Little Mermaid Under the Sea, the song, like,
oh yeah,
just kind of gives me that vibe. It's just funny, but it's so different. And like the way the camera picked it up was perfect, but also, and we can even go in this direction if you guys wanted, but anyway, I could put this camera in my tanks whenever I make it rain or whatever, first person perspective almost of the frogs and toads, because it's waterproof, it's crush proof, dust proof. Could put this little thing in there, and now like it could be in there with the storm. It could be part of the ecosystem with them. So just a lot of cool stuff. Just those two different things alone.
I think it's great, man. I think it's absolutely great. Whether it's 10-second quick things, or you put together more full-length productions like you do, I think it's awesome, and get different vantage points, if you will.
Yeah.
Tyson Dallas said, have you seen the tunnels for turtles and other little critters to pass under railroad tracks? Would be a great thing to make more widespread.
Yeah, I think that those are awesome. I've seen a lot of like tunnels under the road or even overpasses people are places are creating for wildlife. I forget if that's in Europe, but they have overpasses. Have you guys heard about that?
Yeah, I've seen pictures.
They have them in New Jersey.
Do they?
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So my wife has this app, and I don't know if something like it exists for frogs or not, but it's called Merlin. If you're into birding, you've probably heard of it. But basically, you have this app on in the background, and if you're outside, it listens for all the different bird calls, and it will list out what it picks up.
Really?
While you're out and about. It's really cool.
That's cool.
She'll be sitting there on the porch with it, and it like in real time shows you like what it's hearing.
Really?
Can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of the parts of this project is we got a mini grant from Josh's Frogs to create an acoustic research project with training a software like the Merlin app for frogs. So there's a grad student right now who put together a lot of it. We're using the audio moth loggers, and we're hoping to get real-time tracking, like understanding like a software, like a understanding of like the frogs and toads that you're hearing in the field, whether that gets picked up by a naturalist, it's an independent thing or whatever. We just want to help to streamline that for researchers too. So that's one of the few things that we're doing, but there's actually a lot of things for this project. But yeah, so we're trying to estimate it around over 1,000 calls, and we highlighted the American toad and the gray tree frog. We're still in the data collection phase, but the guy who is going to collect it all, and it's kind of his baby, he is going to see what we have with the American toad calls, because these things were out for like 2 months, just sitting out in the middle of the backyard, and the toads were there. So I'm hoping we have enough calls. If not, it might take another year, but we're going to try to start with a couple of species. And like I was talking with Josh's Frogs about this, this could go, I don't know where your listeners are from in the world, but imagine an endangered or critically endangered frog. If you could streamline hearing their call for 2 months and it's able to pick up their audio from however far away, that could be a significant game changer if we're trying to find a species.
Yeah.
Critically endangered, or for like stuff that I do, a frog that maybe hasn't been found in a county before or hasn't been seen in like 50 to 80 years. Maybe it's out there and we wouldn't know unless we were in that one spot at that one time, but I might be somewhere else, but the logger's there. So now we got it.
Now, Tyson chimed in and said, doesn't Frog Watch have something similar? Now, it's been a long time since I've dabbled with anything Frog Watch related, but it was to my understanding that they had audio logs and the Frog Watch representatives would write down and make notations and take data and also record calls. But it also was integrated into iNaturalist, where you can listen to the calls that were recorded by someone in the field on iNaturalist, but it's not the same as this Merlin, was it? Yeah, not the same as this Merlin, where it's finding it for you. I think that's crazy.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. What's wild about it is, like, I'm not a big bird guy. I don't claim to know much about what we have native. Like painted bunnings are like the big thing here when they're migratory.
I'm a big fan of pelicans. Just saying.
So, like, to me, if we're sitting on the porch, like, yeah, I hear birds. I don't know what's what. But then, like, you see this app doing its thing, man, and it's like you're seeing birds that you've never even heard of popping up, and it's like, wait, I hear those all the time. Like, that's what that belongs to. And, if we had something like that for frogs, it'd be awesome. And I know, like, Kevin Messenger, I think on the last podcast he was on, not of ours, but maybe it was NPR. It might have been, I don't know. But basically they were in China. Someone had heard the call of, like, a super endangered frog that hadn't been found in that area for, I don't know, like 50 years or something crazy like that. And so, yeah, like exactly like what Aaron is saying, like you have an app like that running, if it can pick up things from within a certain radius, because if you hear that frog, I don't know about you guys, but anytime I've heard a frog and I go to look and find what it was, it stops calling and I usually can't see it.
Or you find something like iNaturalist, and now you're listening to frog calls, trying to match it in your mind, but then you're slowly forgetting what it really sounded like because you're listening to all these other frogs.
A lot of static.
So, yeah.
So I think it'd be awesome if they could. I know it's not a fast process by any means, but like to make an app like where it's like you can, all this stuff is logged and you can have it listening while you're actively doing something else. And air tagging, I think someone mentioned that. Geolocation kind of stuff, cool.
Yeah, that's a really awesome opportunity that we have, and Josh's Frogs might actually sponsor it again, even outside of the grant, because they seemed super excited to be connected to it. But their fans, like the people that voted, were the ones that got us the grant. It wasn't them. Like, it's important to note, like, this went up against zoos and national organizations, like big time stuff, and we placed. So
nice.
That was pretty. Yeah, it was. I'm really thankful to the people that voted and supported it. But it's going hand in hand with our iNaturalist project, because whether it's the iNaturalist project or this acoustic monitoring project, it only can help us if we wanted to do hardcore research. Figure out why this population is doing this or that one's doing that, or different things. So I am actually doing a phenology study with a retired herpetologist. We're trying to figure out if the American toad is going to decline in the highlands in Pennsylvania because of green frogs and wood frogs. And it's another one that's kind of in the works. I got some data, but I don't think you can determine that in 1 year what is going on. I think we need a few years to really sit back and watch, but there's a lot it's more so we're really leaning into projects and research as opposed to, and there's still the hardcore maintenance of like being with each population. So I don't want that to go unsaid either, because I look at what I do a lot as, and I said this to the library people as well, all the audience, like I'm more like a custodian or a janitor. I'm trying to clean up and fix things and trying to help, instead of a glamorous like 4K YouTube video that is going to come out. The reasons why are more important than the video itself. So
Right.
like there's an episode, it's the pickerel frog episode. There's a lot in that episode. It comes out tomorrow. I hope you guys will watch it, because there's so much that takes place. I go to a hostile fishing area where people have fishing lines all up in the air, under, like on the ground in the marginal areas, like they're ready to just, you could step on them in any, it's bad. And then there's like tires in the water, and there's pollution all over the place, and there's kids that like go through this too, not just the frogs. But there's a pickerel frog that got hooked and like started regurgitating its eggs, and like as we were like going out there, and like I even picked it up and like took it, some of the fishermen were like saying a lot of like disrespectful comments and stuff, and you could just tell it was a hostile place, and it kind of made me feel like I needed to be there. Another thing that took place, there was a toad that just so happened to come up to me. It literally found me in the wild, and it had its wrist cut off, and it was gushing out blood. I don't know if it was a goose, if it was a person, if it was like a raccoon, I don't know, an owl, I don't know what could have done it, but I took that toad in, and if I hadn't been there in that very moment, would it have bled out? Would it have gotten eaten quickly? I mean, it was like limping so bad, and it was in so much pain. And I had to work with a vet in Pittsburgh remotely because I couldn't necessarily get there, but I have basically an armory of medications and painkillers and stuff for my frogs. So this toad kind of lucked out. And thankfully he's still with us, and he, along with another toad I'm going to talk about later, I'm trying to get to go to like research stations or places where people are going to see them. I'm calling it like a road rescue vivarium, because it's going to explain the conflict between people and animals, and the conflict between animals and animals. And this toad is going to be one of the stars of that. Thankfully, I have enough room on my permit to be able to bring him in, but just such a emotional roller coaster that pickerel frog episode is. You're muted.
Thank you. My dog was barking, and I didn't want to interrupt you, but no, man, that's pretty crazy. And I look forward to seeing it and getting to experience it with you. It's wild, man. Just, I'm glad you're getting to take in animals that need to be taken in, and that those animals can then in turn educate more people. And I always found it interesting when people go to museums, or they go to, dare I say, zoos, or certain sanctuary institutions where, the bird's got a messed up wing, and it's like, why is that bird got a messed up wing? Well, that bird got a messed up wing because something bad happened to it. This facility took care of it and treated it and healed it and fixed it. So now, because it's got a messed up wing, it's got to live here, educating the next generation. And like, that's a cool thing, man. And I like your idea of having, like, not necessarily rehab tanks, but for lack of a better word, having animals that were rehabilitated and using them to educate the masses. I'm all about it.
Well, you think about all the little kids that are going to get a chance to see this when I bring it to the classroom, like I did this year. Think about how that impacts them. Second graders, third graders, fourth graders, even college kids, how impressionable this opportunity is. It's not wasted. And this toad isn't, he's definitely not suffering at this point. He's actually eating better than his tank mate, but it's a good opportunity for kids of all ages to understand the impact that we have, and how our choices and our decisions that we make are what's going to help either preserve these species, or we're going to lose them because we don't care. And that's realistically, you strip down everything. That's what I'm trying to do, is get people to care about frogs and toads in their backyards. We talked about this during the three-peat at some point. I said about how it's not sexy. I'm not focusing on copperheads and rattlesnakes or hellbenders or anything that has a lot of funding its way. I'm working with animals that people don't think are sexy. They think that it's kind of taboo or unorthodox, and
or they don't even know exist.
Yeah, exactly. Like how many people knew that we had eastern gray tree frogs in Pennsylvania, or what a wood frog was, and having the opportunity to highlight them and magnify them in these videos. I think another reason why I wanted to do this, I'm a huge fan of watching the nature media. So like when we're talking BBC America, National Geographic, Animal Planet, you think about all of the phenomenal documentaries that have come out, and like they've left a lot of these animals out of their projects, whether it's because people think it's taboo to focus on them because they're wild, and we don't want to encourage, and I still don't either. I don't want to encourage keeping wild caught either. But that doesn't mean that they shouldn't still have a place at the table in conservation, or that they can't be used in ways to help all frogs. So I wanted to create the media that I felt we didn't have. So these animals that you see in your backyard, especially like the green frog, the toad, the bullfrog, why not make featured films almost about them? Why not like create projects? I'm creating the stuff that I wanted to see growing up that I never had the chance because nobody gave them the opportunity. So I'm magnifying that with my YouTube channel, and I spared no expense for Frog Week 2025. If I felt like I needed it, I went out and bought it. Like I bought a cinema camera, a weather sealed cinema camera. It's a little dated now, but like I went out, I have like a big 6 in terms of like you talked about different angles, Phil. I show, I think it's the road rescue for the pickerel frog episode or the American toad episode. I'm not sure which one it is. I showed 3 angles of the same shot, and
That's
they all were A-roll. So
that's awesome.
I could have went with, yeah. So like that's just tuning up the band for what we have in the pipes. So those are the types of things that I'm trying to promote. Woods and Forests Media is it's a legitimate media brand now. Like we have the works if we want to make something. And I think people are gonna, especially with a macro lens and spring peepers. I waited 7 years for that episode. Cool. Yeah.
That's so cool, man.
7 years of making projects, like all these episodes, and didn't have a spring peeper.
One thing I was going to bring up to you, and like, okay, so I always talk about ambystoma because because I'm an ambystoma fanatic, but I can't keep them because everything in my life is too hot and they would melt if I kept them. But
just like your heart, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just like my heart. Those stupid little doe-eyed gummy worms. Gummy lizards, excuse me. So people don't realize that there's 32 different species. People don't know that they even exist at all. And I always look at them as like kind of a cute and cuddly gateway to amphibians because they are kind of cuter, they are kind of derpier. And then I realized it's not that they're cuter or derpier. It's that when you see them, they're usually macroed up.
Mm-hmm.
And all I could think of was when you were talking about like the eastern gray frogs and the peepers, everything changes with the right lens. And when you get that macro or you get that crystal clear, mirrorless, whatever the hell you're working with, and you get right up in that frog's face or right up in that salamander's face, now it goes from being this slimy jumping thing to this like super cute, personable, I can relate to it on a cartoon level thing. And I'm really hoping that some of that, I'm going to say, like, comes out unknowingly or not unknowingly, that's the wrong word, inadvertently, comes out and it makes it and augments it and makes it that much better. So like, I'm very excited to see the different angles. And I'm very excited to see the super zoomed in up close and personal stuff, because then you can kind of, I don't want to say anthropomorphize it, but you can feel for it more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm going on a tangent.
No, that's great. Yeah, that macro lens, I had a lot of opportunities over the winter to practice on my frogs and toads. Ironically, had some bangers come out with them, but like,
cool.
Yeah, but I'm super excited about what I got. It wasn't only for the spring peeper, because there's a lot of other reasons, but
of course
it was going to be the main beneficiary, because I had been waiting 7 years. Like, how can I make a spring peeper episode? How's it cohesive? Yeah. Can I even get it to show up on the camera? And finally I got the right camera with the right lens. And I I can't wait for you to see that. It came out today, so it's a shorter episode, about 11 minutes. But
Yeah, I saw the Instagram clip you posted like 4 hours ago.
yeah, so I think that was some of those scenes were taken with the macro lens, and I got some stunning pictures. I was really hoping to get into photography, not as like a professional, but just I would say a little bit more than amateur, because this is like the cameras aren't amateur, so like I can't be amateur either. But
Yeah.
but no, I just say all that to say like how excited I am to bring this to people's televisions and phones, because we haven't had that. We haven't had an organized project where you want to learn about a bullfrog, you want to learn about a green frog. Well, here's your opportunity. Like, here's a documentary, here's an episode that's going to tell you what's going on with them.
And the outreach, I think, is great because of the versatileness, not versatileness, the broad spectrum of who's being reached, if that makes sense. Because you've got different kinds of animal people, you got outdoorsy people, you got just nature people. But because I feel like something like Frog Watch and even the iNaturalist frog call stuff, the only people really into it are herpers or like bona fide frog people. So it's cool that you're reaching out to people that wouldn't normally be already in that world.
I look at this year's Frog Week as connecting the dots. A lot of things looked like they were just a single dot, not going anywhere. And then finally, life was able to find a way to just connect this with that and to create something special out of this mosaic. And I think that all of these different stories and the gadgets and the storytelling and the discipline and all of the projects together are so powerful this year. It's deserving of the attention that it's been getting on social media. And I wish it got more, to be honest with you, because this would be the year. This is a breakthrough year for the project. It's nothing short of spectacular. Every single story was made as if it was independent. Not that I haven't done that before, but the time and the effort, and we're talking like 5 months of each episode strategically planning it. How am I going to show you a green frog? How am I going to show you a wood frog? Why should you care about it? Like, why does that matter, with what you're doing and with where I'm at and how that can impact eventually where you're at? Like, there's so much that goes into it. So I don't know. I really feel like that's for starters, like the most impactful part of the project itself.
Most definitely, man. Most definitely. So what do people have to look forward to in this year's Frog Week without giving away too much?
I've definitely given away some spoilers. How about this one? So I'll come back to a point. I said about the toad who had his wrist injured and he had a tank mate. I didn't say who the tank mate was. Now I'll give you that context. So as we were just talking about these different episodes, there are about, I think, 12 to 13 episodes, something like that. But anyway, in the bullfrog episode, we were doing a nature hike. You're going to love this, Phil. We had a salamander walk at one of my alma maters. And
nice.
And we had a very good walk. Somebody got stuck on the trail. It took 2 hours to get them back up the trail. Yeah, that's how I felt. And I get home, and as soon as I pull in the driveway, I see an American toad. I'm like, oh, this is a fitting way to end, right? This is nice. So neat. This is a feel-good moment. So I go up, I grab the toad, I take him back to the pond. And, it's one of those where you don't know how you're going to be in fight or flight. But, oh, is that me?
Not anymore.
Oh.
Oh, I didn't hear
it.
You're good now. I don't know what that was.
I didn't even hear it. Okay.
So it's one of those where you have like a fight or flight reaction, and I don't know why this happened, but I just looked in the pond as I was holding that toad, and I saw a bullfrog literally just about to swallow an American toad. I don't know why I reacted the way that I did. I probably shouldn't have. It's debatable, and you can watch the episode for yourself and take either side. But I ran over to the bullfrog and gently picked him up and like opened his mouth and pulled the toad out. And I felt bad because I robbed that bullfrog of its meal. And this is where it's kind of a debate, the bullfrog was born in the neighborhood, and I kind of had to excommunicate him because he was going to keep eating the toads. But the toads had been going on a 10-year reintroduction program, like a toad hatchery. These bullfrogs were in the middle of like a toad hatchery.
Okay.
All of our American toads in the neighborhood were almost gone. And 10 years ago, these 2 American toads decided they were going to lay eggs in our pond. And it kind of launched. It actually outdates the nonprofit and Frog Week when these toads did this. So it's like, well, do we want to have American toads in the backyard and in the neighborhood, or do the bullfrogs want to eat all of them and we keep the bullfrogs? So either one is justifiable because we shouldn't necessarily jump in and mess with nature. But
Right.
anyway, that American toad that I pulled out of the mouth of the bullfrog is still with me. And they have a tooth and it could like pierce an American toad depending on where it grabs it. This toad, he did look kind of like red afterwards, like he got pierced. And I'm thinking to myself, I can let him go, but then he's at the mercy of the lawnmowers, the cars, the stray cats, the mean people, and more bullfrogs. And I'm just like, well, he cheated death. I was selfish. I think that I probably should hold on to this toad. So we have polar opposites in the same quarantine tank right now. A toad that lost its wrist, that bled out, and it's like a feel good, like, oh, Aaron, like it's great that you were there. And then we have the polar opposite of that. It's like, well, now we have an American toad who survived something that it realistically should not have. It was a centimeter away from death. It was in the stomach, and he's with us, and he's alive, and he's a part of Frog Week. And it's like, well, I left that episode open for you to feel however you wanted to, whether you liked what I did or you hated what I did. Excommunicating the bullfrog and like after it was very hard emotionally to like have to make that decision. But I think it's good though to show that with people, to share that with people. So that's one thing that you have to look forward to, is a very controversial bullfrog episode. It's not just a random bullfrog eats things episode. It's like there's a story behind this one.
Very cool, man. Very cool. I look forward to that.
I think you guys will really enjoy the Eastern Gray Tree Frog episode. There's a guy who was in from 2021 to now. I think he's been a part of that episode every year. And in the beginning, when we found them, he had hair. He was older, but he was like vibrant. He was colorful. Like he was a nice guy and everything. And then like over the course of the last couple of years, he ended up getting like cancer. He had strokes and seizures, and like this poor guy has like somehow survived death a lot. And he's like, you can see like where he started and then like how he looked really sick and unwell. And like this year, it's kind of like, well, he just looks like he's aged. He's not as bad, but this guy, and this is probably one of the coolest things we did this year, but we had so much area to cover for them that he had an ATV. He's like, hop on. And like, we went out a couple nights. He let me take it out by myself even, but like, we're taking this ATV on these roads to go and try to like follow the population of gray tree frogs. And that was a really cool opportunity. I got a 4-pound cinema camera, right? And I'm holding that cinema camera, and then he's driving through like this bumpy freaking road. And it's just, it would remind you of like a real like hardcore documentary. I don't know. It just was like a real nostalgic moment. And it's like, I only met this guy because of frogs. Like if I didn't know that these were up here and we weren't working together, like how would this even have been possible? So it's just crazy.
Yeah. And now he's come around full circle and getting to experience the same full circle that the frogs are. That's great, man.
I gave him his moment, I think, in the episode too, because it's like it's all because of his generosity and his willingness. And so I don't necessarily come out and say that stuff in the episode. I try to keep it moving, but I think people will appreciate that now that they can look for it. But the macro lens was a blessing for the gray tree frogs too. Nice. I can't wait to share that. I think probably the biggest deal for their episode, there's always a couple of spots where they breed, and we've never been able to go back and find where they lay the eggs and if the tadpoles develop. We could never confirm 100% that the tadpoles were becoming baby gray tree frogs and carrying on the legacy. So one random night, got off work, I felt really sick, wasn't feeling well at all, and it was raining and stuff. Went up to the habitat, dipped a net in, and got a couple tadpoles. And I'd never really seen gray tree frog tadpoles before this, but raised it up, allowed it to develop. It became a little froglet sticking out of the water, and I was able to catch it. Made the trip the whole way back to where this little gray tree frog was from, just to let him go, to have that moment, like full circle, where Esperanza, one of my gray tree frogs, was taken from. We just gave back, and hopefully I have another one who's growing and developing. I'm hoping to take him back as well, but just super awesome to have a couple full circle moments for the gray tree frogs this year.
Yeah, man, that's great. Now, wasn't there a thing, and forgive me for not remembering, last year we were speaking about, I guess there was a particular vernal pool that had a particular type of tree, and it was kind of like, who gets it? I guess it was the bullfrogs or the tree frogs? Was it one or the other? I had the right species?
For who gets a tree?
For who gets a tree? Is that what it was?
Or I'm trying to think. Or do you mean a habitat?
So there was a particular habitat, and I guess through human encroachment or weather change or something, I think there were two different species competing for the same habitat. It was like
wood
which one?
frogs
It was wood frogs.
I think
Was it wood frogs and tree frogs?
Oh, okay.
And I was trying to figure out, okay, which species are we going to assist, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So that kind of goes into the phenology study for the American toad.
Okay.
What's going on is American toads are and there's 1990s research to talk about this, that there were research studies done, but in the 90s they thought American toads were segregating their offspring from wood frogs because the wood frog tadpoles would eat the toad tadpoles every single time they got the chance. And what we're seeing in the Laurel Highlands and in the mountains in Pennsylvania is that wood frogs are seemingly increasing in number, and so are green frogs. Green frogs are at a much more rapid rate. So the wood frog tadpoles are eating the toad tadpoles in the habitats. And then as the toad tadpoles would survive and they would take their first breath on land, the green frogs are going there to eat them. So we have to figure out, if we're building habitats in backyards, are we going to make a habitat for the toads? Or are we going to for the wood frogs? Like, how are we gonna be able to plan that out when they both utilize the same space? One of the saving graces, if you'll call it that, it's not necessarily good, but some of the habitats dry up, so the wood frog tadpoles would die before the toads would start to breed, or they would dry up and there would be no presence of wood frogs, and the American toads are going to those spots. This is observational. This isn't like, I haven't sat down and done a research study on this. I haven't gotten preliminary data or anything, but what I can tell you,
it's not solely anecdotal, but
yeah,
but that's the idea.
Yeah. So what I've witnessed from observation in the field is that the American toads will go to a place that was used by wood frogs, but it dried up and it's refilled, and now it's theirs. So,
oh wow,
yeah, the toads and the gray tree frogs both will breed side by side and choose to do that.
So now, and maybe there's no way to find this out, or maybe I don't know. I'm talking out of my butt right now, but is there ever a chance that cycle where the wood frogs are eating the toad tadpoles, and is that a active part of that cycle? And now, by us, dare I say, segregating species or focusing on a sole species in a particular pocket ecosystem, are we denying that generation whatever nutrient or growth step that it's supposed to have in the wild?
So I can tell you, there were a lot of researchers when I first talked about this to them. They said there's no way that they interact because wood frogs are deep forest and American toads are like edge habitat specialists, but they'll occur in the forest. But here's the thing, as you have more deforestation and habitat change, they will overlap, and it's nearly certain that they already are in some instances. And I work in a lot of places where they already do overlap. So what I've been seeing for 7 years is something that might not have been getting reported. So I'm like, this phenology study that we're trying to do could be walking into understanding what is actually happening now. Whereas it's hard to say 100 years ago, when Pennsylvania, or a little more than that, when Pennsylvania was completely stripped down and there were no trees, that would have favored the American toads. Before that, when it was a lot, they claimed scrubland and forest, would that have favored the wood frog and we had very few American toads? Well, I don't know that anybody before 1899 has any evidence of that. So it's really hard to say. The American toad, I think, was the first amphibian described in Pennsylvania in 1899 or 98. But all I know is that depending on whose standard of normalcy we're going by, or average, you're probably either on one side or the other. I feel personally that it's not a normal or a natural thing, because the disease that the green frogs are carrying, and the wood frogs can carry it too, is causing more health problems than if it were more like American toads and great tree frogs that were abundant, because they're more hardy. They don't carry ranavirus. They don't normally carry it. They don't normally carry chytrid, but wood frogs can carry ranavirus, and green frogs can carry both. Without dying, they can spread that stuff. And there was some research studies done about green frogs specifically, that they are a known carrier of chytrid and they're a known carrier of ranavirus. So like, them growing in population should maybe concern us too, because of the disease factor in all of this.
Yeah. And this is also, again, not to get too anecdotal, this is also what you're observing on the parcels of land, whether it be private property or state land that you're observing. But there's a crap load of land that you have not been to yet, or that's private property or farmland or agricultural, whatever you want to call it. So who's to say that that dynamic is the same everywhere, and that what you're observing is indicative of human encroachment, or is just the way that it works?
Well, I think what's going to happen is the green frogs eventually are going to eat everybody else, and they're going to become a monoculture. In the majority of habitats where anything used to exist, it'll literally be green frogs and quite possibly spring peepers, because they're like Thanos, like they're inevitable. Spring peepers will never completely be gone.
They're never going anywhere.
They won't go anywhere, but the green frogs are poised to eat everybody else, whether they're going to give them diseases, they're going to eat their offspring, or they're just going to outcompete them, or even eat the adults outright. I could be wrong, and that's kind of like a worst case scenario, but I like to think that the work that we're doing with, especially now, allowing kids to raise toad and gray tree frog tadpoles and then taking them back, I understand, like, if we have 15, because that's what the state allows per person, and these different places have their fishing license and stuff. I think that even if we have 15 and they all come out and they're all baby gray tree frogs, they all could die. Very likely, right? But let me give you a crazy story that I have a hunch is it's not guaranteed, it's not certain, but all right. So whether or not there was tadpoles that were born in somebody else's property in my neighborhood, we've never ever had gray tree frogs in my neighborhood. They've never existed here. Well, 3 years ago, we started hearing one calling up in a tree in the neighbor's yard. And it's like,
really?
Was it because I was moving tadpoles around? Was it because it came in on plants? Well, I didn't know what gray tree frog tadpoles had really looked like. They look kind of similar to green frog tadpoles at first when they're starting out, because they're both growing and they're pretty big. They're bigger than you'd think. So I might have mistakenly caught some thinking it was a different species, and they might have developed so fast that I didn't realize that they developed and got out. And so I'm leaning towards the possibility that a gray tree frog tadpole developed, went through metamorphosis, like escaped and survived in my neighborhood, and then after 2 years of trying to catch him, he finally came down to our patio, and now I have him. His name's Dexter.
Nice.
But just the fact that if that was just one tadpole, because I don't know how many there would have been, if that was just one tadpole and he survived, then maybe the survivorship rate of gray tree frogs is a lot higher than what we think. And if that's true, same thing with the toads, then we could potentially make a bigger impact than what some people might think with just 15 at each project.
Yeah.
15 in each school or library. So
yeah,
you just never know.
very cool, man. Very cool. Did the state give you any guidelines as far as cross contamination with the ones in the kids' schools and stuff? Because you're essentially releasing them back in the wild. I didn't know if like the kids weren't allowed to have a goldfish if they have the frog or something like that.
So I haven't really had any conversations like that because the schools have all been very good about the tadpoles are in their own aquarium and they're separate, and it's, you wash your hands, take care of them, wash your hands. So the teachers are doing it the right way.
Okay.
Everybody's doing it the legal way. And so I haven't had any issues like that, but I can tell you that after they raise them, they go back. So the same tadpoles will get collected, go to a classroom, and go back together. So like
Okay.
they won't go to a different population. It would be very, very crazy if something like that would happen.
Okay.
But yeah, there's no like cross contamination or anything like that.
Very cool. Good stuff. Good stuff.
I see there was a question here about them, or saying, so basically a temperate Cuban tree frog. I would think the green frog is very similar to that because of its tendency, and it's actually out competing the bullfrogs in a large scale.
Wow.
Well, because their pollution tolerance, pH tolerance, habitat like preferences, they're more, I believe they are more generalist than American toads in a lot of ways. They just can persist. They can serve. They're almost like, and I don't want to make them sound, I don't want this to sound derogatory at all, but they're almost like the cockroach of frogs, because green frogs like can handle anything that you throw at them and they can survive. They're just crazy.
Yeah.
So what's the project with INAT that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, so I'm looking here at it right next to me. So we're trying to get records of all the different species across the different counties that we're in, and try to get some baseline data, but also get the public to help us out with this. So, have you seen a pickerel frog? Have you seen a spring peeper or an American toad? Like, let's see how many records we could churn out each year to get the public involved, because it creates a sense of stewardship. It gets people excited because there's leaderboards, and, it helps us to understand, if we did this for another 7 years and we got all of this data and we started to see averages for American toads in this county or that county or whatever, we would have a really good understanding if I were to then turn around and want to do some projects, like some research studies with like how, what's the population like. And I actually can use, obviously I'd have to do more than this, but I at least already have some, I guess it's not primary data, but it would almost be like secondary data that I could work into my study. So this would potentially help with doing like a species richness or like abundance study. Like this would be one of the methods that we could use to get people to participate, and then report annually, like I'd like to do at the end of this year. Say, hey, this is what we ended up with. We had this many toads, that many green frogs, this many wood frogs, and it gives people a sense of accomplishment too, because they contributed. So.
Right.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
That's like you said, Phil, about connecting the dots. And, this is very niche. Like, how many people are going to go to iNaturalist on their own and want to do this with frogs and toads? Some people who are really hardcore, but like now we got grandmas and like, families who are like, oh, this is neat. Like, I'm going to go on and submit these records, so that way, like, it counts for your project. And like that to me is what it's all about, is getting people. And then, we're not just operating like this is a number in a species. We're operating like this is a project, and this is contributing to a major project. So
Yeah. I mean, and let alone think about how many people don't or didn't know that lithobates like was a thing, and they just thought they were bullfrogs, you know.
yeah.
And it's like, oh, there's a difference, you know. And you talk about how vivacious they are, especially to human, you know, crap. That's wild, man. So
I will say, oh, go ahead.
Has there been anything as far as like you're already working with the schools as far as the tadpole projects and things like that? Like, has there been any discussion with the teachers as far as like having a project that the students can do that's like extra credit that's related to this kind of thing? Like, are you tying it into the classrooms at all anymore past the tadpoles themselves, or is there a plan to?
Yeah, I guess, man, Phil did a mic drop and he went home. But yeah, so there's been talk with every single classroom, and we're still trying to gain some for the fall, allowing them to like raise carnivorous plants. And I'm kind of kicking around the idea to partner with somebody to get mushrooms and allow kids to grow mushrooms, and also to have something like a different species of millipede, and allow them to grow the mushrooms and allow the millipede then to get introduced into the environment and watch how the millipede eats the fungus. And I think that would be very educational and very thrilling for the kids to raise the millipede, raise the mushrooms, and see the millipede like just go into town. I mean, you're giving a millipede probably the greatest couple of days of its life with how much it could eat there. But I think that would be a really neat little project for kids.
It'd just be cool if you could get in with the county school system and be like, hey, we have this, you know, a program of sorts, quote unquote, of like, here's some project ideas for your biology classes or science classes. Like, you know, we want to do it in collaboration. I don't know what kind of red tape is involved in that, but it seems like a good secondary, like another foundation for the, you know, the nonprofit to kind of get in on and sort of help build from there too.
Well, I mean, that's something huge for funding that we could possibly dip into. And that's what I'd like to do, is add the schools in. I mean, the libraries are another place that are going to donate and want to pay their way into the project. But I think that this could be massive for the schools if we can go out and reach them as well. So that's something that we are actively trying to do. Hello. You want to go get another one? It must be a good podcast if you're gonna have another one.
Oh no, this is the same one. I had to excuse myself for a moment.
Phil actually takes his time when he smokes. I don't. I smoke too fast.
I pace myself. Actually, I have a Lennox on deck.
On deck. I'm on No Leave a V.
Oh, nice. It's a fat boy.
There's one part of this project that nobody has really had a chance to talk about. I think this would probably be more appropriate than like news and newspapers and stuff. And that's like the enclosures and like the cat, like I don't want to call them captive because they were once wild frogs, but the stories, like Phil, you remember you were really into it with the big toad tank and different things like that. Well, there are some really incredible things that are taking place right now. And I'm super.
Your lighting still kills me, bro.
Yeah. And we are preparing to possibly have 3 or 4 different species of mushrooms in the enclosure. Like it's kind of in its winter stage right now. So like the plants have died back. It looks like bare bones, but I'll just say it's been a really fantastic time like filming that, because I've seen a lot of, like I said, cinematic stuff with the wild frogs, but it's something else to be able to film that in your home and to highlight that. I don't know if you've seen any of the clips of like Ananias, the dark toad, who has like kind of taken over leadership of that tank. And he's been competing with that toad that nobody wanted from Cal U in Pennsylvania, and how that little, like, well, she's a big female toad now, like how she's just so ruthless. Like it's a hostile environment. People all the time are like, oh, keep a toad in a shoebox. And it's like, man, I have 240 gallons and it doesn't feel like it's enough for 3 toads.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's a dynamic. It's reality television.
It's the most hostile and dramatic enclosure without trying, like without faking it. It's legitimately like that. Like they really,
Call it the Octagon.
it really is. Yeah, the Octagon.
One thing I keep forgetting to ask you is, have you thought about doing like a legitimate time lapse? And I don't mean like just because now the tank's established, you've got plants, you've got live plants going through seasons, you're doing lighting, you're doing storm cycles, temperature gradients. I mean, you even talk about putting snow and ice in there, right?
Yeah.
Have you thought about doing a legitimate time lapse for like an entire year or like through multiple seasons? I mean, obviously you're going to
How
have
do you?
to,
I don't even know how you go about doing that.
well, it's not recording for 365 days straight,
Right, but like
you know,
I've seen some
you
real
get
some
10,
plain
15
people
days at a,
that have,
yeah.
it's like a over almost over a year of like watching, and someone did bonsai with like an avocado, so they like did a time lapse of the the wood ball, that the free toy that sucks that comes with every avocado,
Right.
sprouting, and then them like bonsaiing it with the wire and stuff, and like over the course of like 365 days, like they do it, and it shows the counter of the days and stuff, and I'm always like, how do they do it? How do they
Well,
set that up to make it work the way it does? I don't.
It's to my knowledge that they're doing like 5 or 6 day intervals, and like they're recording for like 4 or 5 hours a day for 5 days straight, and then they add the timer at the end. You know what I mean? They
It's
just
like arbitrary. It's
Yeah.
it's there for effect. Yeah.
right. Because let's be real, you'll notice months at a time difference, but you may not notice 5 days. You might not. And
Right.
if it is, it might just be like
Unless it's bamboo or something.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think that'd be something that very cool that you could do. It's especially seeing them like move in high speed and like where they're camping out mostly and stuff.
Yeah, well, I like I like what you said, Justin. The Octagon. That's a pretty good name for it, because like they really do throw down with each other and get in each other's faces. More, I've never had that with American toads, where 3 are healthy and all 3 are competing, and everybody wants to be the top dog. Like it's a whole. I've never seen that before, and I understand it's still kind of taboo or controversial to say American toads have a pecking order, but like, man, they're competing for something, because it's not like that in a lot of the other tanks.
You see it in dart frogs. I don't know why you wouldn't see it in other stuff.
Yeah.
I just think people underestimate their intelligence, or like their
Social
instinct.
hierarchy.
Yeah. I have never seen a female American toad wrestle a male to the ground and throw him. So that is some of the stuff that's taking place in this tank. Just insane stuff I'd never experienced before. There's a lot of depth.
And something that you'd never experience if you had them set up, quote unquote, finger air quote, like a pet.
Yeah.
You wouldn't observe it,
Yeah.
I have snakes and lizards that I know for fact they do X, Y, and Z, and I've been waiting years to observe it, and I never have. And I have the conditions that would be optimal for them to do it, and they've never done it. So, it's really cool that you're getting to see all this not common observations.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you something really neat right now. This year's episode with this tank, they are going to be hunting. Well, they were supposed to be hunting grasshoppers. So I got grasshoppers that were captive bred, and was super excited, thinking, oh, this is going to be wild, watching them like come out of their little hides and just, tear into these grasshoppers. The grasshoppers were very well prepared for the toads. That was probably not as fun of a project as I thought it was going to be filming, because I got all the cams ready like I had out in the wild, right? I got 6 cameras rolling, I'm ready to go. I'm like, oh, this is great. I got it every angle. No matter what they do, I'm going to have it filmed. Well, they missed most of them. There are grasshoppers tonight that are going to be sleeping in the tank with them.
New tank mates, new roomies.
Yeah.
There's no plants for them to eat right now.
Was this the correct species that they would have eaten in the wild? It's
probably the correct genus. I don't know that it's because that species is from California. Is his name Dean? Is his last name Missimer or something? I'm not exactly sure, but he's on Instagram. He's fairly well known. And he's been really good to work with. But
Nice.
yeah, I get captive bred grasshoppers from him, and he's, like I said, he's provided them every time I've asked, and they're very, very good quality. But yeah, I mean, ironically, who I've noticed that was the most excited about eating them was the White's tree frogs. The White's tree frogs never missed them. The gray tree frogs, I think, were chomping at the bit to get a piece of them because I was feeding the toads, and it had been a while since I had fed anybody. I've been trying to be careful with weight and stuff, and I started to hear the gray tree frogs making noises because they saw the grasshoppers and they wanted them so bad. I don't know if I have that on tape of like them starting to make like loud calls, and like they were like out in the front of the tank going like this, like trying to trying to get out and everything.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I made my camera stop. Track me.
No, you're there.
Track me. All right, now it's following me. See, I have a pan tilt zoom cam. Anyway, yeah. So I have a scene of Esperanza, the great tree frog, like trying to sneak up on a grasshopper and grab him, but the grasshopper even eluded him. And there's ironically grasshoppers in their tank too tonight. They do have plants, but I just wanted to bring the captive setting into this because this is another aspect of like the project and what I do, because I get a chance to, interact with these animals all year. It's not just I leave it in the field and then that's it. So it means a lot more to me than somebody who's just a field researcher. And I'm not trying to say just a field researcher, but
Sure.
Like just keeping them in captivity and having a reason for it. It's so much more. I think it drives the passion even more for me.
Oh, absolutely. It's just another aspect of the passion,
Yeah.
Right? I always tell people, they say, man, why does it take you so long to feed all your snakes? Like, you don't have that many. And it's like, well, because I'm not just feeding them. Like, I'm observing them. I'm taking pictures, lots of pictures, too many pictures, most of which I wind up deleting because they're blurry or fuzzy or whatever. But it's the whole concept that we're interacting with them. We're observing them is an interaction unto itself. And we love it,
Yeah. I think, one of the most interesting things I've witnessed that I've interacted with these toads, the darker one, Ananias, he seems to like hide a lot more, even though he's darker. I don't know if that's because like he's so dark he doesn't actually blend in like the other toads. So it's just really fascinating how the toad who is like at the top of the pecking order is never usually seen out in the open. He's usually hiding, whereas like Junia, the female American toad, is always out. I mean, she always wants to fight. She always wants to compete and take his food. But like, she also lived in a lab for like 5 or 6 years.
Oh, wow.
Maybe more. Yeah, I think she's around 10 years old. But yeah, she competes, and it's just crazy that he is. I think what is it called? It's like when a panther has like it's black instead of like a regular color.
Melanistic?
Yeah, melanistic. I think he was melanistic, or he is. His eyes are like his pupils, everything is really, really dark. And it's just weird because he just acts a little differently than the other toads do. Like he's more careful with putting himself in positions. Like
it sounds like he's just scared to be around homegirl.
Well, no, because he'll come out of the tank, like he'll come out of hiding when he's hungry, and he'll like out compete her. Like,
oh wow,
he'll lunge at her and stuff. Like they lunge at each other, they like grapple with each other. Like, and this is a big tank; they don't have to do that. There's enough food for everybody, but like that's what I mean. It's just so different to see these toads how competitive they are. All three of them.
I've got an idea for funding.
What's that?
Go with me on this, okay? Hear me out.
It's going to be toad wrestling, isn't it?
I was going to say, we do parlays.
We go
Hard Rock Live parlay.
We find those little WWE rings from when we were kids that you would get the action figures for.
Yes.
And then we take some chopsticks and we somehow safely tape it to their backs. Put little things of armor on them. And then duke it out.
Just jousting toads.
We can place bets, but it's for charity.
That's it, man.
I think what would be better is giving them some UFC gloves and just letting that, like, somehow getting small ones and just letting them have at it, because they're ready to throw down every time food goes in that enclosure. It's insane.
Have you done a video on that as far as like showing that behavior of them when they're doing that kind of thing?
A little bit, yeah. So this season is going to conclude with Frog Week, and some of the previous episodes, that was like the highlight of the season, was like Ananias and Junior like going at it, or like Baldwin and Junior going at it. The two males don't really seem to get at it with each other, but they seem like they do seem to go at it with the female, ironically, and she goes at it with them all the time. But yeah, it was a highlight for this season, and it's kind of like something. So go with me here, as you have to be creative with storytelling, but it's kind of like college football and sports, how they have rivalries, and I think that Ananias and Junior is a rivalry that a lot of people are gonna hopefully have a chance to experience, because it's so action packed, and they're two very dominant and aggressive toads that have different strategies. Ananias is very strategic. He's very calculated. He's going to come out when he feels like it's time. And Junior's just rambunctious. And she is a captive toad for who knows how long, but she's just going to go in and wreck everybody and leave. And he's like, almost like when the lion, like the male lion, stands up and he's ready to go to war, like he's ready to eat. Like, that's kind of the mentality that Ananias gives me, because like he's just so different. He just comes out of nowhere, and he's just there, and then he disappears. So I think people are going to be really excited. That's going to go into the fall. Season 2 is going to come out, and we're going to do a whole rebuild on the tank. So I think Frog Week, that finale episode, is going to share a lot of what's been going on. But I think what we have in the pipes for next season, like, I'm going to try to finally get a water feature in that tank, and I got a filter with like a UV clarifier or sterilizer, so that way we're not going to, push through water that's nasty and bacteria ridden. So that's one of the cool things that I'm trying to add into the works this year.
Very cool. Are you going to do, I mean, it's going to be difficult, but are you going to do like a whole series on building the tank?
I thought about that.
I really feel like people would love that. They would eat that up, man. At least the herpers would.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kicking around that idea. I don't think that I had the patience in the years past to do one like that, because a lot of people don't realize how much time it takes and like how much storage you have to have. And like you're talking about doing a time lapse might be really good, showing like how all of it is getting done in a day or a couple days. And talking about the details, the nitty-gritty details. I would love to do that. That's one of the things that I'm really considering, that I would love to hear feedback on, because I think it would be a lot of fun to talk about how it was made and discuss like the reason why some of the stuff is in there, or how it even got into this.
Yeah.
To begin with.
I mean, even
popular as vivarium stuff has become with like and things like that, dude, I think it would.
Yeah, but Smitty literally said what I was going to say, like just showing the different plants and like how you planted the plants and like what your soil and substrates are made of. And like there may not be a secret recipe. It may just be I bought it in a bag. Who knows? But people want to know, and they genuinely find it interesting. I mean,
setting up a water feature too. Like if you're putting a water feature in there, I know there's tons of people. Like I would love to do a paludarium with something, but I don't know where to start when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like.
Yeah, and you're doing a 200+ gallon tank. Like, that's incredible, man. Even if you did it like section by section, that's awesome. And then just going over like the piping and the rain system, and like again going back to that famous PA woods and forest lighting, like super cool, man. I feel like you're putting a protein skimmer, like, or UV sterilizer, excuse me. You're putting a UV sterilizer, like. Nobody's got a UV sterilizer on their frog enclosure. Like, that's cool, man. Show people how you plug that shit in.
There's people that are going to want to know. Like, I think even if you posted, if you just did a time-lapse video, you're going to have people ask you, how did you do X? How did you do Y?
Yep.
So I think if you did, even if you took your time and like made it its own sort of series of sorts, like people would be invested in that and want to see how you're setting it up.
Agreed.
I'll
Very
tell
much
you.
agreed.
I'll tell you one of the best things that I ever thought of, because it's a custom acrylic tank. Having the holes drilled in the side of it for airflow with like an exhaust fan.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the best things I could have done, because that is how I can regulate the temperature in a way that most tanks can't.
Mm-hmm.
So like, let's say I shut that off, right? And it's like 75 degrees in the tank. And I shut that fan off, the exhaust fan off, and I turn my air conditioning all the way down. And then I turn, after it gets to 60 whatever, I turn the exhaust fan back on. Now I'm pumping cold air into the enclosure, and it's like a legit cold front. And then, the fog might roll in, or a rain from the fog might roll in. And I mean, these animals are exposed to audio on a nightly basis. So right now it's kind of like the spring peepers. I haven't really gotten into yet in the room, like the toads and gray tree frogs calling. That's going to be, oh,
There we go.
That was like on cue, right?
That was on cue.
But it'll be interesting to see what these guys do whenever there's artificial calls of their own species, if they call back or they get used
I've always wondered about that, because I tried that with some of the dart frogs just to see if I could get them to respond. And I don't know if there's something about, I mean, I was using my phone, so I'm sure like the frequency and things like that isn't quite the same as what it would be if they were physically in the presence of
Right.
of another group. But it was, I always tried it to see if I could get it was my Vitatus in particular. Not that they ever needed a reason to call, because Mother of God, they did it all day long. But I always wondered, could you simulate it to the right frequency or dBs or whatever to get them to respond to it.
Well, this is a good transition here into the other tank with the gray tree frogs. What I've learned from the wild and in captivity is that they are very territorial frogs. It's over 100 gallons. It's the largest Exoterra that all three of them are in. 2 of them are males, but they wrestle and like they call back to each other, and they have like I guess it's either an aggressive or territorial trill. It hasn't been described a whole lot in research, but they let this out, and I've recorded a few times. But these guys are making that sound in my room as they're living together, and I know that they're not super huge fans of one another. Sadly, right now there's not much I could do because that's the biggest tank I can get at the moment. I would love to get them a rebuild, a bigger tank. Realistically, they would probably do better separate. But anyway, like who would have thought 2 frogs that are like 2 inches long would have so many problems, and they're the same species. But
Yeah.
When you, at least up here, I don't know if it's like this everywhere, but in Pennsylvania, in the places where gray tree frogs are not as abundant as like the other species, you find like one gray tree frog in a tree, and then a couple of trees down, maybe another one, or maybe it's a quarter mile down, another one. Like they're very spread out, even at the breeding grounds. This year we found a little bit more of them congregated, but they almost seem like they really can't stand each other, the males. So, yeah, they're very, like, even when the toads call, the gray tree frogs will turn and face them, and they'll call back. They'll respond to toads. And this isn't just like mine do it, but like the ones in the wild do it too. And I heard this and was like, well, this is a game changer. What if green tree frogs and barking tree frogs and squirrel tree frogs are all like this because they're all related? Wouldn't that change how we keep them? Because a lot of people like to cram them together in tanks. So maybe they hate each other. And like, I understand, I'm not trying to anthropomorphize frogs, but you can just kind of tell whenever there's a lot of competition or there's a lot of wrestling and there's trills that, especially I would imagine some people that keep other frogs where that's known, that they have these tendencies to be aggressive with each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's been well documented in Tinctorius. I mean, dart frogs, that's what I'm going to keep going back to because that's my only frame of reference when it comes to frogs. But like Tinctorius dart frogs, like notorious for, you got to keep them in limited groups because the females will just be absolutely brutal to one another. Like
it's anything in Dendrobates, right?
No, like Terribilis seem to do really well in groups.
Well, that's Phyllobates, right?
That is Phyllobates, but my Lukes. I think I had a group of 4. I don't remember what my
Okay.
ratio was, but they
The
seemed to
Lukes
do
are cool.
well.
Okay.
It just, but like Tinctorius in particular, like
Yeah, big diesel frogs.
they will jack each other up if they don't have the proper amount of space and the proper amount of barriers between them. You know, they need to be able to get away from each other because they will like straight up drown each other and wrestle the smaller one to the point of starvation.
Wow.
Yeah, they can be absolutely brutal to one another. It's
Wow.
But that is the interesting thing too about them is like you have some species that do great in groups, and then you have some species in the same genus, like a lot of the Ranitomea. You know, there's Vanzolini seem to do best in pairs. But then, like your Veraderos and things like that, your imitators seem to be fine in larger groups. It's odd.
I caught a little beetle. I think this is a dermestid beetle. So they've been hanging out with the roaches in the roach colony. I'm going to let this guy go for a moment. He'll fly around for a little while.
Nice.
But yeah, I don't know. I can't, like I said, I can't confirm that the gray tree frogs 100% are doing it and they don't like each other. But you just, sometimes as a keeper, you just have that understanding with your animals. If you're with them every day, you can kind of
You
gauge
pick
that.
up on things, yeah, for sure.
What was it that was calling when we were talking?
Well, I don't know who it was. It was either Esperanza or Dexter, but it was one of the male gray tree frogs.
Gray tree frog. Okay. Very
Yeah.
cool.
So
cool.
I guess the highlighted species that are native are American toads and gray tree frogs. They seem to breed beside each other very well. They're both very tolerant in drought and disease and stuff like that. So they seem to be very hardy animals. So they are, and they're very fascinating. Like I observed today, Esperanza doing some things I'd never seen tree frogs do before. He's been doing it a lot now. So when he grabs caterpillars like hornworms and silkworms, he is grabbing it, and then he's going like this with it and forcing it. Like he's taking them like how we have thumbs. He's almost like grabbing it. And I have never seen a frog do that before. And he's like eating like that now. So
Wow.
he's an aggressive little frog. He's a good hunter. But
yeah, what would be cool is like we have narrowmouth toads here everywhere.
Yeah,
and they're really cool. Actually,
they're so loud too.
Dude, unbelievable. Now that I've got those confused flower beetles, like those really teeny tiny.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if I could manage to keep one going on those because I think they mostly eat ants, if I'm not mistaken.
Bro, you get some sand from your backyard with some oak leaves, bro.
so many narrowmouths, dude. Like my parents, this time of year, especially, like the skimmer box in my parents' pool, you'll open that thing, there'll be like 5 or 6 narrowmouths just chilling in there, like unbelievable.
Smitty, you get oak toads up by you?
I don't know that we get them here.
You too far east?
Coast? No, we get it. Like they're here. They're native to South Carolina. They're just. I think you have to go a little more inland.
Okay.
From us to see them.
Yeah,
that'd be a question for Jake because he loves him some oak toads.
Yeah,
I've never seen any here on the island though.
Okay.
I do have a couple of diesel toads that hang out on my porch.
Southerns?
I think so.
Nice.
Honestly, I could probably go catch one right now and figure that out. I don't know.
Nice.
Swear to God, one's like the size of a freaking racquetball.
Love it.
Wow.
Love it.
Yeah, some of the larger females are eating field mice.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Good God.
It's part of their actual diet if they get hungry enough. They don't do it all the time, but they will if they get hungry enough. Like this time of the season, it's late, and like they're trying to put on pounds for brumation.
Mm-hmm.
Probably when you get closer to August. I guess you're further south, so it might be later in the year. But for us in Pennsylvania, yeah, like August, September, they start trying really hard to put on weight.
It'd be like October for us probably.
Yeah, so that would be if you started hearing a mouse like squeaking and stuff, it might be getting eaten by a toad.
Wow.
by your diesel southern toad, yeah.
Nice.
I've just come to the conclusion that they're all some variant of like Pac-Man frogs where they're just stomachs with legs. They're just these all-consuming voids where it's like literally a black hole just swallows something and it disappears.
You know, it's really interesting that you say that. The only frogs that I think truly are like that are the pond frogs because they just seem to, they'll eat whatever they want. whether it makes them sick or not. And sometimes they learn, sometimes they don't care. But like I've noticed the gray tree frogs and the toads, the American toads, they have a preference. They're not just going to go and grab something out of spite or like being irrational. There was a project that was done by Frank Indiviglio, a guy from the Bronx. He was a zookeeper, and he was talking about how like southern toads specifically, if they got stung by a wasp, they would stop eating it for the rest of their lives. But then like it wasn't all flying insects. So a dragonfly they introduced into the enclosure, and the toad ate that. But when they introduced a wasp again, it stopped. Like it chose not to eat it. And there's theories that like if they eat certain caterpillars or beetles that make them sick, like they'll avoid them completely, even if they're the only option. Like they won't eat them. So
Interesting.
so some species are pretty clever in figuring that stuff out. You know, if they have a bad stomach pain or get sick, like they won't eat it again. And I think that's true in some instances. But I can tell you guys, I don't know if the spotted lanternfly is that far south with you guys, but American toads and gray tree frogs do eat them.
Very interesting.
I'm not
Do you
sure
guys
if we have
get
those-
mayflies up at you?
We do, and they eat them too.
Yeah. Very cool, man. Very cool.
You guys don't get marbled salamanders that far up, do you?
Yeah, they're in Pennsylvania.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys got marbles and spotteds, and then you guys get blue spotteds too, right?
I think that
You're too far west for blue spotted?
no, I think that they are. We just missed them. I don't think they're in the state. If they are, they're not very abundant. We used to have tiger salamanders too, but they're extirpated. Ironically, isn't that something that we had tiger salamanders the whole way up here?
Yeah.
But, not very much range for them to go. But anyway, yeah. So we do have marbleds. They're also in my region in western Pennsylvania. They're possibly gone altogether, but in eastern Pennsylvania, they're pretty common. Our ambostomids are declining very rapidly. Even the spotted salamander now, it's the last one. Well, I shouldn't say the last one. We also have the Jefferson salamander, but not everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So those two species are the only, and they're a little bit different. I kind of lump them in with the frogs because they're breeding side by side. I'll give you a spoiler for next year. I met somebody at a frog walk or a presentation or something, and they have access. They know a population of Jefferson salamanders. So I'm going to hope that I can follow that lead and we could potentially film them for the first time ever in Frog Week history and present maybe two ambostomid salamanders next year for the project. I think that'd be pretty fun.
Very cool.
I used to find slimies a lot around here, and I mean, it's to the point now to where I don't even remember the last time that I found one. I think the last salamander I found was within the last couple months, and it was a mole. But I've never found marbleds. I don't think I have marbleds here on the island, at least that I'm aware of. It's been kind of weird. Like as far as salamanders go, I don't think we have as many species as y'all do up there. But there was a point where I would find slimy salamanders on a regular basis, and I learned very quickly not to touch them. As mother of God, I remember the first time I picked one up, not knowing that they did what they did, and then like when my hand was like sticking together, I was like, "Oh my God!" and I couldn't get it off. It was a nightmare. I was like, "I'm never touching those things again." After looking them up, I was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." But I wish I could find marbleds because I absolutely that's probably my favorite salamander species is marbleds, and we had some at the nature center I worked at, a million years ago as my first job, and they were really cool. But I've never come across any, unfortunately. No, they're gorgeous.
I thought we made a discovery of them in one of the counties that we focus on. It was a couple years ago. We found these like ambostomid larvae in October in this gas line pool of water. It's considered a vernal pool, but it didn't seem like it dried up completely unless it's like a really bad drought, then maybe it would. But anyway, everybody really, really thought these were marbled salamanders because it all fit together. It was a historic range. The habitat was right. Well, my professor at the time, while I was still in grad school, I think it was spring because they overwintered in the pool of water, and then we caught some, and he raised them out, and they ended up being spotted salamanders. So somehow some way in Pennsylvania, first time that I'm aware of in the history of the state, that spotted salamanders must have reproduced in the fall, and then their offspring overwintered in this pool of water. And there's a lot of like little anecdotal things for like herp review and stuff that I'm sitting on, but that's one of them where we made that discovery that spotted salamanders must have double clutched in a year, because it was not marbled salamanders. It was sad because that would have been a really big deal had we found them, but and we had a lot of like researchers out there that really thought that's what they were, and then the news kind of broke like slowly. No, it's actually, but it is still neat that we have spotted salamanders that had reproduced twice in one location.
Wow. Very
How
cool,
often
man.
are you finding, so like when you're at vernal pools and you're seeing tadpoles and things, like how often are you seeing signs of salamanders as well in the mix with those?
It used to, well, in the first 3 years of Frog Week, I used to see them a lot of places. It was very consistent. The last 3 years of Frog Week, I'm starting to see only maybe a handful of locations where the spotted salamanders are still like consistent. So either they had to move or they all died out in a lot of these populations. And there was a lot that took place this year for the American toads where they had habitats. It's ironically, it's the population where Ananias was road rescued from. They had 4 or 5 pools of water, and all of them but one dried up, and they're not coming back, like they're gone. And that was a really crazy experience to see over the course of all of Frog Week, every year filming a very like common place, and now like it's gone, like it's lost. And those toads now have one last option if they're going to breed in their like little meta population, or else they have to travel, and they might have to travel over a mile, because I was trying to track down water. And it was just really disappointing whenever I went back to a historic place for the project and didn't find didn't find a single pool of water for up to a mile.
Wow.
I mean, traditionally, how long do those vernal pools stick around?
A couple weeks, but
Okay.
it depends. I mean, it could be between 3 weeks to like 2 months, maybe 3 months. Typically, right before the 4th of July is whenever you would start to see them either disappear or like they're getting really low. So they were, and we had a weird drought, and then we had like really consistent rain, and then we had like 90-degree days, and then we had more consistent rain. So they went through like a lot of different experiences this year. There was one habitat, that one that survived out of all of those that dried up, that I followed, and it's only in the last episode you'll see it, but I kind of show the stuff that dried up and how the story of this one habitat, like I was literally bringing water to it every day for a couple of weeks, and I was like dropping off like 20 gallons. Well, there was one, like the water started to get so low, even though I was bringing them water. I just remember I took my last look at the habitat and like got in my car and thinking, that's it. That's the last time these toad tadpoles have a chance. And like they're flopping around in a couple spots. Like wasn't really much I could do. Some hard to reach spots I couldn't get a net to like move them into the water that I had just put in. And you could see like the ants coming in and taking the tadpoles, and the crickets were grabbing them and stuff. Yeah, it was crazy. And as I sat in my car and just like took a last look at them, it started to rain. And then like I went home and like I came back and it rained and rained and rained, and like the habitat was completely restored. Then we go a couple weeks later, they're starting to develop legs and everything. I'm bringing water back, and like it starts to dry up again, and it's like just about the same as last time. I'm taking 40 gallons of water now. And like I take my last look, ironically again, it's like the miracle at the vernal pool this year. It started to rain, and like the pool of water was replenished the next day, and like it was enough for them essentially to develop, and we had probably over 100 to 200, maybe 300 baby toads come out.
Wow.
Yeah, and this was a spot where spotted salamanders laid their eggs. The puddle dried out and they died earlier in the year. Wood frogs laid their eggs and they died. The puddle had been dry for a couple of weeks. Then it rained, and the toads were the only successful group that had laid eggs and that had seen success in this one habitat.
Wow.
And that was documented on Frog Week this year for the last episode.
Hell yeah.
Wild.
That's awesome, man. Absolutely awesome. Gentlemen, we're at the witching hour. Aaron, is there anything you want to touch base or say before we let you tell people how to find all of this stuff?
Well, I hope that your listeners have an opportunity to check out Frog Week, and maybe they'll consider watching some of the episodes. Again, like I said, I wanted to make something that I would have watched when I was a kid, and also what I would watch now if it were on TV, because I just feel like it's a really unrepresented or underappreciated group of animals that I'm working with. And I understand it's taboo to some and like it's dirty to others, but like I think there's something really fascinating about creating a project in your community that's inspiring the youth, something that is inspiring the region and even other states to like think about what's in their backyards and take pride in it and want to like care for it and want to like appreciate it. It doesn't take anything away from our captive pets. It doesn't take anything away from the exotic frogs, but I think that it's good that we also are able to recognize some of the missions at home.
Yeah.
We don't have to go to Costa Rica and Brazil or Peru or any of these other crazy exotic places if we want to do conservation. It could literally start with a passion for the frogs and toads in our own backyards.
Yeah.
And I hope people will take that into consideration and they'll give the project a chance and want to support it. And same thing with like me having the educator permit and wanting to present these different frogs and toads in captivity. I hope that people will want to follow them throughout the year and watch their lives unfold, because this is real stuff that they're going to take on. And I'm very unorthodox with the way I do it. Like you were talking about, there's thunderstorms, there's audio, there's going to be hopefully a water, like a wetland area for them in the tank. And I just hope that people will take it as serious as whatever else that they come into contact with. Because I know I've had a lot of instances where people have kind of looked down or criticized the project, but it's very hard to get media coverage in year 7. Usually you get it at the milestones, right? Like year 1, year 5, year 10, year 25, year 50. To get on the cover of a newspaper in year 7 with all that we're doing, I mean, that's really special. The media must believe in the project for it to get that kind of attention. So
sure. Absolutely. So where can people get a hold of you, and then let us know about YouTube and the shows and where they can find that?
Well, there's 2 different places that you could reach out to me and also go and visit. So PA Woods and Forests is the nonprofit. That's all that you're going to see is the field work and the stuff that we're doing in Pennsylvania. I think we have in the Frog Week tab for PA Woods and Forests, you can see like we have the iNaturalist window open for people to see if you scroll down, and there's like Ambient Weather Network, which is like a citizen science network system. If you install a weather station in your backyard, you can get metadata. Basically, you can get like, or whatever, how do I want to say this? Like your climate specifically, and we could use that at satellite habitats to know where the frogs might be or what their adventure might have been throughout the year. But anyway, PAWoodsandForests.com would get you to the nonprofit. Woods and Forests Media is the media brand, the YouTube channel, the Instagram. That's where a lot of the media stuff is going to take place. So you want to learn about the pets, if you want to see Frog Week, all of that stuff is taking place on the Woods and Forests Media YouTube channel. And we also have a merch line, thanks to one of your sponsors.
Hey.
That's right. And it's very high quality. If you guys want to get some Frog Week shirts or you want to rep PA Woods and Forests, it's going to help us. It's going to also help Justin, and everybody's going to come out a winner with all of this. So just make sure to grab your Frog Week merch.
It's at newsouthshirts.com.
Nice. Very cool, man. And all this is just Woods and Forest Media, YouTube. We're in.
Yeah. Cool. So if you go to Woods and Forests Media, whether it's the YouTube or the Instagram, there's a link tree that will take you back and forth to things. And
excellent.
Yeah, you'll be able to find everything.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, Aaron, thank you again. It's good stuff. Smithy, would you like to take us out, sir?
As always, I'm looking at frogs on the SREL website. Sorry. This episode is brought to you by blackboxcages.com. You need a rack, you need a cage. They've got something to accommodate. Use the code THN25 at checkout. Get a little bit of a discount. And then fullbeastapparel.com. Use the code THN at checkout there. Get 15% off your order. That is the exclusive promo code for THN listeners and viewers like you. If you are going to Daytona, there's a free delivery option, or it will be brought and delivered to you personally by me at the show. We're going down Thursday and leaving Sunday. I don't know what time Sunday, probably the afternoon. So get those orders in. I am going to have a cutoff to where if you place an order past a certain point, you're probably not, I'm not going to be able to bring it with me. Let me see, I'm looking at the calendar right now. That would be probably August 11th. I believe will be the cutoff, but I'll make an announcement on the socials and stuff for that. And then Cold-Blooded Caffeine, best coffee around, Snakes and Stogies blend, that and many, many, many other offerings available, none of which you will be disappointed by. We're biased, but their coffee across the board is phenomenal.
Muy delicioso.
We will be back Thursday. Flippin' 10 is happening, I believe. It was supposed to happen last week. They had some scheduling stuff, so it had to get kicked to the following week.
Scheduling stuff. It's called herping.
Arachnids, I don't know. I got to get with Sarg and see if that's happening this coming week or not. We'll see. If not, I may just have to do a show without him.
Ooh.
We'll see. I don't know.
All right.
But thank you, everybody. We will see you later.
New episode of Venom Exchange Radio is out. Go listen to it.
Oh, and it's good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.